Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Elise and this is 10 to Life. I have got a really insane case for you today, guys, one that you actually have been requesting me to cover for a couple months now, and I haven't had the stomach to do it, but there are updates in this case, so I'm covering it for you today. So smash that like button and let's get into it.
10 to Life with Elise starts right now.
All right, guys, my name again is Elise, and this is 10 to Life. If you are brand new, stopping by for the first time, welcome. This is the channel where we talk all things true crime. For you returning subscribers, you already know the deal. You know what it is we do here, but welcome to all of you new viewers. And if you like the case video today, please make sure to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button below. The case we're going to be talking about today is one that, again, many of you guys have been asking for coverage of, and it's the case of Matt Coleman out of Santa Barbara. Now, Matt is accused of being a follower of the Q movement. I can't quite say the words on here because YouTube will flag and take it down. I'm going to leave it in the comments, but for those of you in the chat, you can say what the word is, and you guys can research it if you aren't familiar with this movement on your own. Now, there have been updates in this case, and he is now speaking out. And he recently wrote a handwritten letter to his family and friends. And so we are going to talk about what that letter includes, as well as what happened in this case. Before we jump into all of those details and the updates, let's have a quick word from today's sponsor. Okay guys, I am going to keep it real with you. Between juggling this YouTube channel, my full-time job, and 2 kids at home, I don't always have enough time to get ready. But, you know, for me, I always got to be smelling good. So let me tell you about this new subscription service that I found that I'm using called Scentbird. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service with over 600 different brands of fragrance that you can try, all for just $16 a month. But you know I got a deal for you, so hang on, let me get through this, and I'm going to give you that deal in just a second. What I also love about it is it's a completely flexible subscription plan, so you can cancel at any time. There are no penalties, which is great because sometimes we just got to cancel one of our subscription plans sometimes because we all know things are unpredictable and sometimes something just doesn't make the cut that month. But let me just show you what I'm talking about here. So these are the fragrances that you get. It's in this awesome little bottle here. You twist it up, and then boom, you can pull out the vial. Now notice how big this is. It is 8 times bigger than a typical sample size, and it actually is a 30-day supply, which I love because that gives you the opportunity to try any scent you want for 30 days before committing to the mega super big bottle. This month I received Cartier Eau de Cartier, so fancy, I know, and Sanctuary Vanquita Dolphin, I don't know, I'm probably saying that wrong. Let me just show you the card. Here's the cards that they send you along with each fragrance that you choose, and inside it tells you all about it, and it also tells you what notes are in the fragrance. I chose these ones because I wanted something that was feminine, soft, airy, but not super overwhelming, and this one's perfect because it has notes of lavender and jasmine in it, which I love. As I mentioned, they carry over 600 different brands, and they carry top designer brands like Prada, like Gucci, Versace, but they also have their indie labels like Vince Camuto as well. And all of them are 100% authentic. It's not like the fragrances you're going to buy on the corner of Canal Street in New York. You New Yorkers know exactly what I'm talking about. They partner with these designers and brands, and it is 100% authentic. As you know, bottles of perfume can cost, upwards of $200, $300, $400. So before committing, try it for 30 days, see if you even like it. So for just $15 a month, you can choose from any scent you want to try, and you can also upgrade your account to try 2 to 3 fragrances, which I always do because you know me, I'm pressed for time. I got to figure out what my new signature scent is. You can also discover new fragrances that you normally wouldn't try by taking the Scentbird quiz. Now here's where I got a deal for you. You can use my coupon code 10tolife55 for 55% off your first month, making it just $7. Guys, I just sprayed this one and it honestly smells so good. Scentbird's available in the United States and now Canada, which is also very exciting. So thank you, Scentbird, for making me smell good, for sponsoring today's video, and for hooking all my viewers up with 55% off their first month. All right, guys, let's get into the case. Months after he was arrested for allegedly killing his 2 children, Matt Coleman, a native out of Santa Barbara, California, is now speaking out, and he apparently has written a handwritten letter to friends and family apologizing and explaining what went on in that fateful act from August 2021. A friend of Matt's who received the letter states, he was really despondent and hopeless. He's alone with his thoughts 24/7. He's reflecting on the mistakes he made in life and wondering if there's any chance for redemption. He poured his heart out. He begged for forgiveness, but says that he's now where he deserves to be. He says he's sorry and that he never wanted to cause pain, and he is working through why he made the choices he made. So let's talk a little bit about those choices. What led us here? If you've already been familiar with the case, we're going to just kind of brush over it again and, jog your memory a little bit and then talk more about this letter. So Matt Coleman is a 40-year-old who founded the Lovewater Surf School in Santa Barbara. He looks like your typical, stereotypical surfer guy, happy, free-spirited, seems to be in a chill mood most of the time. But the cheerful guy that everybody had come to know and love and respect turned out to be nothing of the sorts. On August 7th, 2021, Abby Coleman, 35 years old, married to Matt Coleman, 40 years old, were packing up for a camping trip at their Santa Barbara home. They were planning to go with their 2 kids, Kaleo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who's 2 years old, and their newest addition, Roxy, just 10 months old. However, as they were packing up the van for this family camping trip, Matt abruptly leaves with the 2 children and doesn't say a thing to Abby. Now, this struck Abby as extremely odd, especially because he didn't pack the infant car seat, and we know a 10-month-old child is absolutely going to need that car seat. Abby began texting and calling Matt, all of which those texts and phone calls went unanswered. She reached out to family and friends who also tried to get in contact with Matt, and nobody had any success. Abby grew increasingly worried, and that same day she reported both the children and Matt as missing. She told authorities that she was concerned for their well-being, not only because Matt left abruptly, but because he left that car seat behind. And that is something that would never normally happen, not only him leaving, but of course also to pack up your 2 children and not have the safety device that your 10-month-old needs to be seated in. Abby told authorities that she and Matt had not been arguing, they hadn't been fighting, and that there was no marital strife going on. She actually also said that initially when Matt took the children, she didn't believe that her family was in any danger. She thought that he would eventually return with the kids and everything would be okay, but something just wasn't quite sitting right here. Luckily, the next day, Abby was able to use software from the cell phone to track his cell phone, and she discovered that his cell phone was located in Rosarito, Mexico, which is an approximate 5-hour drive from Santa Barbara, California. Matt had checked himself and the 2 kids into the City Express Hotel in Rosarito, California. They stayed in that hotel until early Monday morning when he checked them out at 2:54 a.m. Now remember that time marker because we're going to get back to that in just a minute here. As he checks the family out at 2:54 a.m., they go to a field off of a ranch just outside of town. That same phone locating software was able to be used again the following day on Monday the 9th, and it showed that Matt, his phone, was actually at a U.S. port of entry from Mexico, trying to get back into the U.S. The FBI immediately dispatched colleagues from San Diego to go and meet Matt where he was located. When they arrived, they noticed that Matt was attempting to enter the United States with that Sprinter van and that the children were not with him. Upon learning this, the FBI contacted the Mexican authorities, who unfortunately then shared horrible, disturbing news. The Mexican authorities say that they had recovered the bodies of 2 children who seemed to fit the description of Matt and Abby's 2-year-old and 10-month-old child. The children were reportedly hidden under leaves of a willow shrub, and they were placed in a strategic position on their sides with their backs against each other. And going back to not bringing that infant car seat, at this point they realized that instead of leaving with that car seat and the 10-month-old strapped in, he left with this 10-month-old inside of a box. In my opinion, he appeared to know exactly what he was doing the moment he left Santa Barbara and had a direct mission to get down to Mexico and carry out this gruesome act. The police say that Matt drove the children into Mexico, and then he took those children early Monday morning to that ranch where he then killed them with a spearfishing gun and returned to his hotel room by himself just a couple of hours later. So when law enforcement approaches Matt when he has the Sprinter van, no children, and they make the connection as far as the bodies that were recovered by the Mexican authorities, he's arrested. And what he tells police as far as his motive and his admission of guilt in this horrific crime blows everybody's mind. I mentioned earlier about the Q movement. And again, I can't say the word on here because YouTube's going to flag me, but it's a big movement that everybody's talking about. It's been talked about, especially in the most recent years. So Google it if you're unsure what I'm talking about. I can't really talk about it on here. So Matt allegedly told the police that he was motivated by this Q conspiracy theory, which is really this false belief that former politicians have been secretly battling, this network of Satan worshipers and PEDs, abbreviating again because YouTube is going to flag me, and these people of the highest levels of political power and influential power, and that they're in this hidden network where they do these horrible things. They're PEDs, all of these things. It's a pretty big thing out there right now. And most people believe it's a conspiracy theory, but a lot of people do believe it is in fact true. Now, in this criminal complaint against Matt, FBI agent Jennifer Bannon wrote that he claimed to be enlightened by this Q movement and by the Illuminati conspiracy theories, and was actually receiving these visions and signs revealing that his wife Abby possessed serpent DNA and had passed it down to the children. Now, what does this remind you of? For me, it immediately reminded me of the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case, because remember, she starts talking about her children are zombies, how they have, satanic or devil DNA, and it's the same kind of mentality and thinking here. Matt goes on to say that he believed that his children were going to grow up into monsters if he did not kill them. Now, as I go back to that timestamp of 2:54 a.m. when they checked out of the hotel, part of me wonders if this gruesome act was done as some sort of ceremony or sacrifice, because again, leaving at 2:54 a.m. is very early. I get it, maybe wanting to be under the radar, but I can't help but wonder if it's because this had to take place at sunrise. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. So the fact that Matt was a believer and a loyal follower of this Q movement blew everybody's mind, especially Abby. This was news to everybody. And family friends of Abby's who have known her for several years say if she had any idea that he was believing any sort of thing like this, she would have absolutely gotten him help, because it was so out of the normal apparently for him. But unfortunately, Abby didn't know, and now the worst case scenario has happened. A family friend noted that Abby is confused, stunned, and obviously just completely destroyed inside over the deaths of her 2 children. She's now not only lost her 2 children in such a horrible way, but she also has lost her husband, her life just completely shattered. This family friend goes on to say she thinks that he just snapped, that something must have happened in his brain, adding that Abby hopes to be able to ask him these questions face to face. But she says for now, she's just grieving and taking the time, which they all are, because it's just an absolute nightmare. Now, what's interesting, in the months leading up to this all happening, if you look at Matt's social media, there weren't necessarily telltale signs there, but there were some things indicating that maybe there was a little bit of a skewed thought process there. He had a lot of biblical quotes that he was posting that went, from typical Bible quotes all the way to like a prophetic language and more of like a following and culty type of vibe. And Matt also openly talked about a new type of great American Renaissance, and that this would empower each person's heart to come alive and to explode. I don't know what that means. If you know, let me know. And in some of these posts, he would go on to ask, is 2020 just the birth pains of what's on its way in 2021? Now, that statement makes me wonder, did he truly think that he was saving his children or saving the world by, taking their lives? But I also go back to the timing of it and the manner in which it was done with the spearfishing gun. It seems to me very ceremonious and sacrificial. But what do you guys think? I personally don't follow the Q movement at all, and I probably should educate myself on it more, but I have chosen not to, because when I go down that deep rabbit hole, it almost just becomes too much for me. So please, if you have any sort of information as to what this was, whether it was a sacrifice or what it may have been, please leave that in the comments below, because I myself, I'm a bit green on all of that. Since his arrest, Matt has pled guilty, and he pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree foreign murder. Now, if he isn't sentenced to death, Matt will face life in prison and a $250,000 fine. Hardly enough, in my opinion. I think in situations like this, the death penalty is warranted. But you know what? That being said, I'm also kind of torn, because I'm wondering, for these people who are such devoted followers of the Q movement or any other movement or any other cult for that matter, at what point do you recognize that somebody has become so brainwashed in their thought process that perhaps they are a victim themselves? And is there any sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Is there any sort of slack given for that? Again, not to say that this is excusable. It absolutely isn't. He absolutely needs to face the maximum penalty, in my opinion. But I can't help but wonder, and it's so hard to prove, right? But if there is a way to prove that somebody was systematically brainwashed, and whether it's in a cult, whether it's this movement, whatever it may be, at what point do they become a victim themselves who can't 100% fully be held accountable for their actions? It's just something I'm wondering about. And I don't think that's the right thing by any means. It's just something that kind of has my head spinning a little bit. But what do you guys think? Do you think that it is something that's a factor of being brainwashed and manipulated, and somebody should still be held accountable, but maybe not to the fullest, as if though it were evil, malicious, and intentional? Or do you think, I don't even care. I don't care what the reason is. I don't care what happened. Hold them fully accountable. A death penalty is fine by me. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And I also want to hear from you guys. Why do you think that this Q movement has so many avid followers right now? Is it because people are on lockdown and they have so much time on their hands, they're getting consumed by this information or this misinformation? Do you yourself follow this and believe it's real? And if so, why? Let's get a good discussion going, because I'm wondering how we can identify these behaviors a little bit better to hopefully avoid situations like this in the future. Because from everything I have read, it appears that these people mask their intentions and their views on this very, very well. So is there some sort of unlock as to when we can recognize that somebody doesn't maybe have these beliefs or follows this? Let me know what you guys think. All right, guys, thanks for tuning into today's case with me. I hope you enjoyed the coverage. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet and you like this channel and you like hearing what I have to say, hit that subscribe button below. And also, please don't forget to show your support for the channel by giving this video a thumbs up on your way out. All right, guys, and don't forget, comment. I want to hear from you. So comment now. I want to know. All right, until the next case, stay safe. Bye.